From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Slipping, falling, can't get up. Hey yo, I'm slipping, falling, I can't get up. Hey yo, I'm slipping, falling,
Wake up.
can't get up.
Better, much better. All right. It's showtime. It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Corey's here as well. We're at the Midtown offices, Tallahassee, Florida, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code the Adidas is over. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the first half of the football game Saturday and maybe subsequently found solace in something later on Saturday. I found it in a chicken fingers box from Zaxby's.
Okay.
I did. Took my brother and his buddy who were out here. They drove up from the Tampa area, the Clearwater area at 5:52 a.m. They got on the road.
Oh, no.
Drove up, came here to my house. I dropped them off at a restaurant. They grabbed a snack. Then they went to College Town, got after it, started drinking at 11 in the morning. And they fled at halftime, like most folks.
A lot of folks did, yeah.
And it was good to see them. They weren't happy overall. There's so much to talk about. I did such a poor job of planning this all out. I did no planning, really. So, I don't know. Corey, how was your Saturday, I guess, after the game? First off, was it good? Did you find solace in anything after the game Saturday, just in life in general? Love, things of that nature?
Well, no, I didn't find any. Well, I always find solace in love and friendship and camaraderie. We all do. But yeah, it wasn't went out, had a few, knocked back a few, and it wasn't real festive. Wasn't real festive at all. Got to watch Georgia play, so that was something. And the Auburn-Oregon game was entertaining there at the end. But yeah, other than that, not a ton of solace. A lot of head shaking and a lot of conversations about the future of this program and where it's going and is there any hope. And I had multiple people said, okay, who's on the list?
Ooh.
To be the next coach.
Right, we're there.
Well,
right there for a lot of people.
A lot of people are there. I'm not there,
right.
But a lot of people are there because again, you're 5-8, man, and you blew a 18-point lead at home
Twice, right?
Twice,
apparently. What kind of weird stat was that floating out there, which I don't know is? Did you see the whole 80-2 supposedly? Like, what is that? So
when they have the last 82 games, they've had an 18-point lead or higher. They're 80-2, and the two are Miami last year and Boise State this year. I mean, I guess that's legit. I mean, I guess Jimbo only had a 16-point lead at NC State. Yeah. I would say, sorry, folks, I don't care what you say. That loss at NC State was still worse than that one on Saturday. That was a much better team in 2012. And look, after Jimbo had his debacle in Raleigh,
and we all wrote him off.
Yeah, they won like 32 of their next 33 games. So maybe that's coming.
I don't think it is.
I don't either. The defense is I don't even know what do you say about it?
Okay.
They're not well coached. I don't know if they're any good player. I don't know what kind of NFL talent they have, if they have any NFL talent. I do know that they have more defensive talent than Boise State. And Boise State looked pretty well coached, at least in the second half.
Let's start, I guess, at the beginning of this, and then let's go, I don't even know really, where the beginning falls and where the end begins or what have you. But I'll be honest with you.
It's poetic.
I could not have been more amazed, enthusiastic, optimistic, hopeful, just preparing concession speeches. Although I don't think I've buried Willie. I don't think I've buried this program at any point. I've been critical of it. I've been skeptical of some of the things they've done. Obviously, I mean, I'll wear that stuff. But to see it happen, I don't know if the inner child in me was sort of awakened in the first half, but just to see the way this offense performed call it a high level, don't call it a high level, but to put up 31 points in one half, it made me think of, oh wow, this is how quickly it's all back.
Yeah, and it's
just like that, it's all back.
You can't dismiss that either because the last time they put 31 points in a half at home was against an FBS school.
Oh, don't tell me. I really want. Can you give me a year?
Yeah, 2013.
Oh, NC State, right?
No, Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
The game after all the Jameis stuff broke, and they were up 38-0, I think, at the half, or 38-3. That was the last time they put up that many points. And I don't know about yardage, but probably 360 yards and a half. And 31 points. That's not something that happens here ever. It hadn't happened here in a long time. So you can't completely dismiss how good it looked. And really, they had 360 yards. they had 30 yards on bad snaps taken away. They were close to 400 yards of offense in the first half with big plays, a lot of big plays. And then, you make some mistakes. You fumble. You have a terrible snap when you're at the 4. Those 2 plays from the 1-yard line were awful when Warren Thompson got tackled at the 1. But otherwise, you can't complain about what the offense looked like in the first half. You just can't. That was something you're like, holy moly, this is incredible. It doesn't matter how bad the defense is. Boise's not scoring 60. So even if they scored 36 like they did, they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns. That's what it looked like. And then the wheels came off. And I don't even know how to describe it. Blackman wasn't any good. Briles maybe wasn't any good. I don't know. How do you describe what happened in the second half? But, again, going back real quick, I don't think the first half should be completely dismissed because they scored 31 points. That's a huge upgrade from what we saw last year. So
absolutely. In the video wrap-up you did, though, I feel like the Great Irish Schofel sort of thought that maybe all that glitters really wasn't gold in the first half. And going back and, I guess Cam's 4th-and-1 run. But, I mean, like, do you dismiss that play? It was a 4th-and-1.
And he had a hole. He made a guy miss, and that's what Cam Akers is supposed to do.
Yeah. Tamorrion Terry's touchdown wasn't a beautiful pass and catch and run. It was all a catch and run. It was just him doing really bad tackling on Boise's part, him getting away, and then eventually using his speed to pull away from the pack. But I mean that throw to Keyshawn Helton was gorgeous.
The one to Thompson was good too.
Yeah.
In the one to Gavin, Gavin dropped in the second. I don't want to say it dropped. He could have caught it maybe, but down the left sideline. That was a really nice pass by James Blackman too. But they had the one drive. When I tweeted out what I tweeted out about give Kendall Briles all the money, it wasn't after those 2 big plays. It was their 3rd touchdown on the throw to Neighbors when they just steamrolled down the field. Yep. Like that was just, I think it was 7. It wasn't a big play. It wasn't 2 plays. It was like 9 plays, 2 minutes. They marched right down Boise State's throat. It was just crazy. And then they were up. What were they up? 21-6, and then they hit the pass to Thompson down to the 1. So they're 1 yard away from scoring 4 touchdowns on their first 4 drives. And even then, and so they have to settle for the field goal because the bad snap. And then the very next possession is the 60-yard pass to Helton, and you're like, man, this thing is this is incredible. And then you just stopped. But I wouldn't say that it's just. It wasn't fool's gold. It could have been looked at as fool's gold because there were a bunch of big plays, and it wasn't consistent offense in the sense that they were, 9-play, 8-play drives. But that's kind of what the offense does. It's supposed to get your players in space, your real skill players in space, where if they beat their guy, it's a touchdown. And it was devised perfectly. And in the second half, it wasn't.
Do you want to go there? I mean, what?
I think we should go with the defense first.
Okay. Defensively, it never was good.
No.
Right? I mean, at no point did you feel – I mean, they created – they had their own sort of variety or their own flavor of big plays, if you will. I mean, they created turnovers. The blitzing –
They had 3, right? They had 3 turnovers and then probably should have had at least 2 more. They just couldn't pick up fumbles.
Yeah. And what Jalen Lars Woodby had 2 that were going to –
were almost touchdowns, that were touchdowns called back, yeah.
Well, one of them was legitimately one of them was what they called it a forward pass, and it was a forward pass.
Right.
It wasn't a fumble.
They both were. I think Janarius Robinson hit the ball out of the guy's hand, but he was still throwing it.
Okay.
And then the other one was they called it a lateral, and it wasn't a lateral. But that you're talking about mere inches from 2 defensive touchdowns. But that doesn't excuse what we saw, and neither does the 100 plays. We get that they were on the field for 108 plays. We get that the offense gave them – the offense does deserve a lot of blame in the second half because it was putrid, and you have a bad defense that you kept throwing out there with no rest. Marvin Wilson had to play 69 snaps. That's way too many. And if you watch that 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 16 that they picked up in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, I love Marvin Wilson. He is the best player on this football team. I don't know if it's close. But watch his effort on that play if you go back and watch it. He can't move.
He's done.
He just stood there. The quarterback even rolled up to him, and that's when he kind of reached an arm out. But he literally just stood there and didn't move because he was exhausted. That's because you don't have a lot of depth up front that you believe in. I mean, he got 40 plays off, and he still played 69 plays. 40 plays off. He's not going to have 40 plays off the rest of the season, you hope. But
he graded out at an 86.8 according to Pro Football Focus, the highest single score of any player.
Yeah.
his pass rush was 91.1. He was an absolute terror.
Yeah.
Other than that play, but he had nothing left to give, though.
Yeah, and and that wasn't a shot at him. There was nothing left, and they don't have the necessary depth to back him up. And they tried. I mean, they ran out. What did you say? They played 30 guys.
30 players going to Pro Football Focus half grades on defense.
Yeah, so they had 30 guys on play at least a snap on defense. Probably 25 played 10 snaps or more, close to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot, man. And Ira brought up a good point, and I think it's something that we need to ask Harlan Barnett about. How do you have that many guys ready to play at a high level? How is that possible?
In week one.
How is that possible? Does that mean that, I don't think they took Boise lightly. How could they? Boise's used to win and Florida State isn't. But how do you have I just don't know how you have that many guys ready to play. And you want to ask about why they're so confused in the back end with the zone and so many guys are running free. Well, you might have guys playing with guys they're not used to playing, or you just have guys they don't have any experience and they don't know what they're doing. And they obviously weren't coached up well enough to know what they're doing. You also can't have 11 guys play 100 snaps either. They would all die. You'd have to send them to the hospital.
I didn't want to go this long. We've gone over 10 minutes without pointing. You pointed out. I think Ira did a great job in that 3-2-1. If you're not a member of WarChant.com, I mean,
you're missing out. Hey, what about my column?
I was going to pivot to that.
Thanks.
That was the best column you wrote in a long time. I mean, I don't want to say a long time. That was one of your best columns. That's one of my favorite columns you wrote for sure.
What did you like about it?
Just the fact that how can you watch what happened on Saturday and be okay with it? But then not go too overboard, but also realize that there's real challenges that at what point do you, I don't want to say you give up on things, but at what point do things start becoming symptomatic that they're not going away? I don't know. There's just so much. I don't know, how do you process a loss where you felt, I felt it was over. My brother and his buddy, everybody felt it was over at halftime. No one walked out of Doak Campbell Stadium at halftime thinking that Florida State was going to lose a football game. Me, as crazy as I was, and I was the only one in the press box, I never was worried. Even when the lead started deteriorating before us, I wasn't worried. Not at any point. Once Boise took the lead, then I'm like, oh my gosh, they really might lose this game.
Yeah. Yeah. And the point of my call, what I wrote was like, look, I didn't ask a question in the post-game presser because I didn't have anything to ask. There was no answer.
Was that really one of the first?
I can't remember. I didn't ask any question to anyone.
Yeah.
Not just Willie. I was sitting there with James Blackman when he was talking, but I didn't have anything to ask him.
Yeah. Because what
can you ask them? What I'm interested in is something that they can't really prove. They can't show. I can ask James Blackman, okay, what'd you see on the throw to Gavin, or what'd you see on this and that, or whatever.
The second half plays.
Yeah, what happened there? But I can't ask why is this team different? Why can't you? What has to change for you guys to turn into a winning program again? How do you bounce back from this? Because nobody on this roster that comes straight to mind has ever faced adversity and done well with it. They just don't. They melt when they face adversity. They just melt. And it was supposed to be the other team that was melting because it was 100 degrees outside, and they're from Idaho. But they're the ones that played like that in the second half. They outgained you 300-50 or whatever it was in the second half. They had 36 first downs. Meanwhile, your offense just completely spiraled into nothing. You panicked, you're rattled, and that's what losing programs look like. When things start going bad, they find ways to lose. Cam Akers is a terrific college football player. Losing teams fumble in that instance right there. The game was over. Marvin Wilson makes a play for you because that's what Marvin Wilson does. You get the ball at midfield. Akers has a nice run on first down. Boise State's ready to quit. I really do think that. I think if you go up there and score, then it's 38-19 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. It's 1,000 degrees. They're going to have to throw it every down with a freshman quarterback who played well but also made some mistakes and didn't hang on to the ball real well. You have a chance. The game's over, I think. But he fumbles. With not even a bone-crushing hit, just inexplicably fumbles. That's what losing teams do. And they have to prove they're not that. And all the words that they talk about, everything they say that it's different, we're a different group, you have to prove it. Otherwise, it's just talk. It's noise. Go prove it. So that was my point of the column. It's like there's nothing you can do or say right now. There's nothing you can say right now that's going to change anybody's opinion of what this program is. But as I pivoted in the column, they did look better
Absolutely.
You think about the last time and I'm not a Pollyanna. You might think I am. I'm not. I call it like I see it or try to. So I'm not always looking for the silver lining. But you think about the last time they walked up, you saw that team in that stadium. They had just quit. They got embarrassed by their rival. It wasn't competitive in the second half. None of their losses last year, save one, were competitive. They lost 5 of their last 6 games last year, I think, or 4 of their last 5. All of them were blowouts. They were just embarrassing. This one wasn't an embarrassment. If you just said on Friday, man, they're going to lose 36-31, you're like, oh, that's a bummer, man. But all right, scored some points. It was a competitive game. Okay, you can build on it. Yeah. It's the fact that you blew an 18-point lead. You completely melted down. Nobody made plays and righted the ship except for Marvin and Nasruldeen, who kept forcing fumbles. But then other kids knock it away from each other. Keith Gavin, I get it, man.
I still don't remember this play. I got to go back and look at the tape.
So it was down the left sideline.
You don't have to explain it to me.
But it was down the left sideline. It's as perfect a throw as you can make without it being a perfect throw. Like, he would have had to make a nice catch. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. Ball tips off his hand. James Blackman, he would have had to drop it from a cloud right into the the bucket. I mean, it was almost a perfect throw, and he would have caught it and been down at like the 4. And then you might go in and the game's over there. But he didn't make that play. So I don't know, man. I'm rambling, but that's why this game this week, unless they look putrid again like they did against Samford, if they come out and handle business against Louisa Monroe and win by, I don't know, comfortably 3 or 4 scores, and the defense gives up 400 yards instead of 600, you can maybe feel okay, but nobody's going to care about anything this team does until Virginia. So, and it sets up, weirdly, a lot like last season. Yeah. You have a disappointing loss on the first game. You have a outmatched opponent in the second game. If you win that one, and then you have didn't they play Syracuse week 3?
Yes, they did.
They played Syracuse week 3 last year, who ended up being a 10-win team, and that was a tough game on the road. Yeah. Well, now you're playing another 10-winish type tough team on the road in Virginia. Are you going to look as bad at Virginia and get completely humiliated in the second half again, like you did in Syracuse last year? Or are we seeing at least some sort of baby steps? Or is Harlan Barnett going to be fired in the middle of the season? A lot of questions. But what about Renegade? Holy moly.
That was amazing.
That was the best. Really, that was the best in a long time. I should write another story about that.
Yeah. It was like as soon as the hoof went down, like the spear was only a fraction of a second behind. Whoop.
And he reared up, too. Yeah. That was really impressive.
You talk about baby steps. I mean, I feel at what point do you have to start walking? I mean, Well, so let's stick with the defense here, I guess, and just.
I don't know what to do about the defense.
Here's the thing: nobody felt good about this defense going to the season from our staff. I think on the War Chant report, Gene mentioned it. Ira and several of his stories mentioned it. You've talked about it here on the show and the roundtable. I talked about I guess what the biggest surprise was, just the fact that nobody on the staff has a 3-4 background, but they're going to a 3-4 and they're married to it. Was just kind of a bizarre thing. And so many of the problems that happened last year with the 4-3 manifested itself just in terms of like alignment, assignment, and fit. No, they're just blitzing down the field, Boise State. It was incredible to see them. And
it started early, the first drive, until they fumbled.
Just like last season.
Just like last year.
And so many people, too, are now, I don't want to call these people Pollyanna, but I think the ones that are trying to hang on the silver linings is just, I think during the telecast they said the Boise State's one of the only teams in the nation that has all 5 returning guys on the offensive line. Is this the best offensive line we're going to play all year? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, even if they are, I don't know. This won't happen. Like Miami won't be able to do this. Florida's not going to be able to do this. Clemson won't be able to do this.
Well, and they just
insert team won't be able to do this.
What bothers you again is that Florida State made some plays offensively in that game, but did it look like Boise State was just completely out of position? Like the Tamorrion Terry play wasn't that was bad tackling. But the Keyshawn Helton touchdown, there's a guy right there. It's just a perfect throw, and he goes and gets it. The Warren Thompson down to the
ran
one.
Past him. Yeah.
Those were that's
talent.
That's talent, but it's also the offense had to go make a play. When you watched Boise State throw for 400 yards, other than a couple of them, you're like, man, that was just a dude running wide open. There's no It's not hard to beat this defense. If you're not getting strip sacked, if you have more than 3.5 seconds, which you are against these guys unless they've developed a pass rush, somebody's going to be wide open because they don't cover in the back. And a lot of it's, I guess, in zone. They're doing a lot of zone principles. And they
had huge problems with last season.
And they are horrific at it. They're horrific at it. That guy sliced them up.
True freshman. Hank Bachmeier. Remember the name.
Yeah, and no, he's good. Had great head of hair, too. Did you see
Amazing.
Holy moly.
Yeah, really good smile, too. Good for him. He'll be all right in life.
He's going to do all right. I mean, he's got to live in Idaho for the next couple of years, but still, after that, he's probably going to have a good life. But, they didn't make it hard on him at all as far as reading coverages. It did not seem like. How many times did he almost throw a pick where it looked like he was completely confused?
Right.
Very good. Maybe
point.
A couple times.
I can't remember. You're a very good point.
So when he missed throws, he just missed throws. But the guys were just running free. And, maybe you need a DB's coach.
The first half, they were disguising stuff, though. They were creeping up. They were trying to look like Dick LeBeau in Pittsburgh and guys standing up and then backing off and then creeping back to the line of scrimmage and things like that. Amari Gaynor ran free on a beautifully designed stunt and absolutely crushed the kid in the first half.
By the way, I liked Amari Gaynor. I don't know how he graded, but he's a guy that I thought made some really good plays and really impressed me on a couple of coverages on throws to a tight end down the sideline that he broke up and ran stride for stride with him and diagnosed it really quickly what was coming, which I thought was the most important thing.
He was the number 10 ranked defensive player. He ran 43 snaps.
So top third?
Yeah. His coverage was 71.2. His tackling 74.8. Those are both in the green. They were good. His rushing defense was 53.1. That was a sort of Achilles heel.
Yeah, well, that's their Achilles heel.
Oh, yeah, and that's not his game, I don't think. His game is he's a freak.
Yeah, get after the quarterback.
Well, and there was a play in the first half where there was a really good play made in the end zone in terms of coverage, and I was like, well, that's actually pretty good. Look at them being able to turn around and bat balls away and stay, stride for stride. And you're like, that was Amari Gaynor in coverage. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was good.
25 yards downfield.
But also like Samuels and Samuel, they didn't play poorly. Do you remember them being like, I mean, as far as like if they were in man-to-man coverage, they weren't getting beaten. Yeah. But, I don't remember their names ever being. I know Stanford broke up a pass in the end zone before their last field goal. But Samuel made a nice play on something, but they weren't really a part of the – like, do they not trust those guys to cover wide receivers?
I don't
Were they going up against, Randy Moss and Chris Carter? Like, they don't – you have 4- and 5-star kids all over your secondary. Why are you so passive in the backfield, in the defensive backfield? Do you just not trust them?
I don't know, man. These are the questions I guess we have to really ask Harlan because it does make no sense. You feel like you have physically more superior athletes out on the perimeter in terms of coverage, and these guys.
That's why you recruit them.
Yeah. Well, he didn't recruit these guys.
Well, that's why but you're at Florida State. That's one of the advantages is your skill guys are supposed to be better than their skill guys. Mickey Andrews won a ton of football games because he had guys like Buckley and Dion out there. And he's like, all right, y'all just go cover them, and we'll figure out all this stuff by the line of scrimmage. That you have that's where your edge is.
And surely you figure out that at some point in that second half that fatigue is obviously going to be a huge factor, and you know that your pass rush isn't going to be able to maintain itself. So why are you in zone? In zone coverage in terms of the back end of things.
And they did do some 4-3 stuff, right? I don't know if it was 4-3 principles as much as, but they'd had 4 down linemen.
Yeah.
They also had when Marvin was the only lineman. I mean, they did different stuff and they tried different things. None of it worked. And I want to give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt in the sense that, and I don't want to be like completely and over the top depressing, because again, this team might look different in November. It might. You don't believe it. I'm not sure I believe it. I don't even know if this is a bowl team right now. But compared to what it was last year and how ugly that first game was and how completely disheartening it was, this team at least showed some potential on one side of the ball. Mm-hmm. Last year there wasn't really any potential on either side of the ball. It didn't seem like. And the special teams were better coached. So you look like you've improved in 2 of the 3 areas. So that should give you hope with an easier schedule that you can get to 7 or 8 wins. And then you hear those words coming out of my mouth, and you're like, man, I get it. This is Florida State. We're going to be okay with 7 or 8. Well, no, you're not okay. But last year, you were incredibly close to being 2-10. The Samford game you could have lost. You were losing. Taylor doesn't make that pick 6, you might lose to effing Sanford.
At home.
Louisville, you should have lost. You miracled yourself out of that one. BC, somehow they let the best receiver they faced all year just run straight by them. If those three things don't happen, you're 2-10. And it wasn't like, again, I've made this point. There's again.
But you have made this point.
Yeah, it wasn't like all their losses were close. There was no fluky about their losses except maybe the Miami loss. So they were awful last season. They were a 2-10, 3-9 type team last year. Well, they looked better than that, right? Is that something you can take some solace in, that they at least on one side of the ball, and if you want to count special teams, two sides of the ball, that's not really a side of the ball, it's more a peripheral of the ball, periphery, they look better. They're better coached. Now, the second half is what, I get it. We watch the second half and be like, okay, what happened there, Bryles? That wasn't impressive. But overall, they're better coached on that side of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's talk more about that right after this.
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Knolls since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Welcome back to Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I guess what kind of hinders maybe feeling good about the fact that they look so good on offense for the first half. I don't know if it's more so that the defense did not look good at any point, and I do wonder how much better can they really get. Will they believe in this system? Are they still sold out for it? Is just what you mentioned many times on this show, and what Ira mentioned, I think, in his 3-2-1, is like the whole esoteric concept of like this team doesn't know how to win. Yeah. So if they don't know how to win, even if they get better, won't they still just find ways to squander it again? You know, maybe it's not going to have to. It doesn't have to be 600 yards. It can be 458 yards to give up and 80 plays, and the offense doesn't get going at any point.
Right, and so that was my point when I talked about the baby steps, is that if you look at last season. If you look at this season as what it kind of is you're coming off a 3-win type season. I know they won 5, but they weren't competitive in half their football games. It was an utter embarrassment.
Right.
So to think that they could win, even with an easier schedule, that they're going to go 11-1 and their only loss is Clemson isn't obviously realistic. You've got to get from being embarrassed in half your games to getting embarrassed in 2 games. I get it. That's ridiculous. But you don't go from awful, which that team was. I mean, they were 106th in defense or whatever they were and 120th in offense. And we all know about special teams. It was an awful football team last year. You don't go from awful to pretty good or awful to good.
But they did, Corey, for half. You know, that offense looked amazing.
No, but as far as, number one, yeah, it did. But as far as the overall record, you're not getting to 10 or 11 wins. You're not doing that.
Oh yeah, and I don't think we weren't.
But if you can, if you're the baby steps are, okay, be competitive, win close games, hold on to leads like Barry teams. Like I would think it really is if they can go out and beat Louisiana Monroe by 35 points. I know people roll their eyes and dismiss it because it's Louisiana Monroe. Man, Florida State right now is 10-14 in the last 24 games against FBS teams. 10-14. You can't roll your eyes at any wins. So if you go and show that you're completely outclass another team and dominate them, I get it, it's Louisiana Monroe, but that's something. Go up to Virginia and don't get killed. That's something. Be competitive. Show some life. That's where this program is right now. And I'm not saying that as to excuse what's happened with this coaching staff. But I think if we look at it and strip it back, that's what this program is right now. Through some fault of the previous coach, through plenty of fault of the current coach. That's where this program is right now. It's a lot like, and I know it's hard for people to hear, it's a lot like the Florida State basketball team after Steve Robinson left and what Leonard Hamilton had to do because they got torched. And then they kept getting marginally better. He doesn't have enough time to get marginally better. Right. He's got to get better quicker. He can't look like that. He can't be a debacle in the second half. But that's, this program has to learn how to do this stuff again. Right?
How do you do?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because you could say that the 16 team still had winners' DNA in it.
Yeah.
But who on this team played any sort of role in 16? I mean, guys like Emmett Rice were on the roster, but he didn't play.
Yeah, none of these guys on this roster have done anything in a big-time environment. They've never handled adversity well. And it's not just collectively. Obviously, Marvin Wilson's a great football player, and if he'd have played on the 90s, he'd have been an All-American and have his number retired. He's just stuck in this. But, I mean, none of these guys have collectively, like I said, they're 10-14 in their last 24 games.
Cam Akers came from a program that won a state title in Mississippi. Marvin Wilson came from a good program in the Houston area. I mean, these guys have come from, a lot of the players on the team have come from good programs. Warren Thompson, Armwood High School, Travis Jay. I mean, obviously he's a true freshman, so he hasn't been on campus as long. But there's so many players that they came from good programs, and they've won, so they know how to win. So at what point does it become that this coaching staff and this culture, this sort of, vague term that every coaching staff uses to some degree, at what point does that become a culprit and it needs to change? And they're making coaching staff changes, but still there has to be fundamental things that clearly that have not changed.
Right.
Even though the fact that Kendall Browse is here and Alonzo Hampton's gone, there still has to be there's something still in place that are happening. So how do you identify that stuff? People talk about, my friends just in a group text, this is all just bad coaching, man. We lost the game just simply because it's all bad coaching. Like how? What? Like, is there anything specific that happens in a game like that?
Well, and also weirdly in this season, and I get it, I understand why people are upset with him because you should be. It's his program. But what did Willie do to lose that game?
Yeah,
he doesn't call anything on defense and he doesn't call anything on offense. So unless you say he hired Harlan Barnett, that's what he did to lose that game. It wasn't last year where he was the one that was calling that slop. That was his $1 million coordinator that completely. Why do you?
Or do we know? I mean, could he have said, Kendall, hey, chill out. Let's not shoot ourselves in the foot. Let's dial it back and just.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I mean, that first half was probably a lot of fun for him. He's like, oh, this is a great hire. Holy moly, we're going to score 60
keep rolling,
a game.
Man.
Yeah,
keep rolling.
Yeah. So no, that was Kendall Briles' fault in the second half, and the quarterback. He was not good in the second half. He was panicked. He held onto the ball too long. I think he got rattled. I think he got. I don't
think guys are getting open either.
Well, but also I think there probably were guys open that he's like, okay, they're getting close again. I just got to throw it deep and hope for a miracle. That's not quarterbacking. Neither one of those deep balls, and the one he threw to Terry, which not only was into double coverage, but it was in the middle. I mean,
it was between the hash and the numbers instead of the numbers and the boundary.
And the one he threw to Pokey into double coverage. I mean, those aren't. That's not what you do when you get down. Is you're a wing and a prayer. That's not on offense, and that's not a Kendall Briles offense. So I thought he panicked.
I think
maybe they pick up. Like, look, it's all from the top down. He doesn't get excused. You build a culture of winning and accountability, and hey, fall on a ball instead of trying to. I mean, what are you going to do picking up a ball at the 2-yard line with your back to the end zone? You're going to try to run from it.
Get away from it. I try to advance it. Yeah, I don't have a problem with trying to scoop it there.
But he's scooping it. He's ripping it away from one of his own players. Yeah. And also his back it's not like he's picking it up on the run and he's in a dead run. He's going to have to pick it up, turn around, and then try to run 98 yards with everybody. I mean, you got to fall on the ball. At the same time, the offense was going to get the ball at the 4, go 3 and out, punt out of the end zone, and Boise was going to have the ball at midfield or at the 40 anyway. So it wasn't that huge a play. It's just indicative of making boneheaded plays when the pressure's on. Yeah.
Although who knows? At that point, maybe that's something that makes Boise buckle a little bit. Hey man, we're about to knock on the door and
we're about to go ahead and we keep fumbling.
So who knows how the game plays out? But I do wonder if like Willie's demeanor. People talk about he doesn't look as impassioned or plugged in during games. He looks a little bit more kind of he's processing things and things seem to be moving maybe a little faster than he's wanting to sort of grasp his arms around or whatnot. With some of the things you mentioned about James, again, I don't know how much of things are just sight reads in terms of him just seeing things pre-snap. And
don't you think some of them were, like, especially in the first half, weren't a lot of those like RPOs, like the slants to DJ and the quick hitters when he's pulling it, he's handing it to Akers and then pulling it out and making a quick throw? Aren't those probably RPOs?
I would think so.
And then he just was, I mean, I can't imagine they just went completely away from that. I think he was making bad reads. But he made enough good reads in the first half for 31 points. Should have been 35 points and 400 yards offense.
See, we'll talk to Kendall this week. I don't buy the fact that he just panicked and just started throwing it out there. I think I think there had to have been things that he saw that they've been coached to do, that if you see this look, go for it kind of a thing. Because why wouldn't you at that point when you know things are slipping away? I think I'm thinking almost get the reverse. When you know things are slipping away from you, I'm not looking for the home run. I'm almost just looking, let's stay on the field. Let's get a first down. Let's keep moving it. And they did come out so dedicated to the pass in the second half. And when they finally did decide to run was when they gave it to Cam those 2 times, and he got him in the red zone, and then he fumbles. And then at that point, then they're totally discombobulated, and they come back out throwing the ball again. They don't get any yards. They go 3 and out. Next time you get the ball, you're like, all right, we got to start running, and they try to run on first down. Boise knows that and stops them.
Yeah.
It was a sort of a bad, terrible, vicious cycle in terms of what the offensive play calling was. I want to go back almost and look at Kendall Browse's history. I wonder how many times he's been completely shut out in the second half. That was
or in a half period.
Yeah.
Probably probably you can count them on one hand.
Yeah. Because the guy from Oregon that has like this axe to grind with Willie, I think, tweeted something else out or wrote another story just about, Willie Taggart's offenses again collapsing in the second half, because that was his calling card for the 1 year he was in Eugene, was at the second half they never really, quote unquote made adjustments. It's ultimately we're at the point now where you have to talk about the viability of him and his staff, I think. And it's a kind of uncomfortable thing to talk about.
It's early. They were a 4-point favorite. And that's why I kind of, what I mean. Yeah. It was a close game. And if it was on a neutral site, 3-2. I mean,
But you're up 18 points, like on 2.
No, but what I'm saying is it's not like they lost to a bad team. They lost to a good team.
Right.
They played poorly in the second half. They dominated, or they didn't dominate because you can't say the defense dominated one. They played much better in the first half. But let's see. You can't just be knee jerk after one game.
But it's not.
It's not. It's 13. I know that's the retort. And really, it's 24. I mean, this team hasn't been good for a while. But see what the progress looks like. Last year, they devolved as the season went on. This year, maybe it looks different. There's a chance by the end of this year, they're 8-4. And their 4 losses, Clemson notwithstanding, the 3 other losses might be by a touchdown or 10 points.
Doesn't matter, though, if it's against Miami and Florida?
Sure. I mean, they were, I think so. If you're losing to Florida by 6 points after what happened last year, again, it's not where Florida State wants to be. I'm not excusing it, and it's not the standard that's been set around here. But you got to crawl before you can. Well, does that make sense with the baby steps analogy? Because baby steps, you've already stopped crawling. You've got to
jog before you can run.
Yeah, you got to walk before you jog.
Fast walking, speed walk,
or you're going to face plant. So if you look at this year as a bridge year, well, what will make you okay? And we can't just be completely black and white and say if you don't
X
win 8 games,
wins, right.
It's how they look.
Right.
It's how they look. Are they better coached? They had 5 penalties. 2 of them were awful right there at the end because you can't block real well. You're still saddled with a not great offensive line, but you had 5 penalties. You didn't have a single special teams penalty. It's a little ridiculous that you're going to fair catch all of them. I don't know that that's like the blanket way to go about when you have the athletes at Florida State and they're Boise State. Maybe you can try to run one back, but fine.
I think when you're a man down, maybe you do something like that. And
you're just like, we can't coach this, so
let's just make it as easy as
it.
simple. 25-yard.
So let's see what it looks like at the end of the year. You don't want to rush to judge, because what if they beat Virginia? I'm not expecting them to beat Virginia. Mm-hmm. The odds makers won't expect them to beat Virginia. But what if they beat Virginia? Then they're 2-1.
They're still in the thick of the ACC title hunt at that point.
They're still in the thick of the national championship hunt, buddy. If they win their next 11, they're going to the playoff.
They are.
Absolutely. So just remember that, guys. So I think that's the bridge, and that's why I say baby steps is let's see what it looks like at the end of the year. If it doesn't get any better, if the defense legitimately is the worst in the country, well, there has to be changes to make. If they have another losing record, if they embarrass themselves in halves like they did on Saturday, and they don't seem to make adjustments, and this team just completely melts down, yeah, there's going to be blame, there's going to be discussions. But after one game, and I just think let's look at this season as its own entity and not let last season bleed into it so much. Right? It's obviously understandable.
Well, wouldn't the first half offensive regret? I feel like they would regress to the mean. You can't expect they're going to hang 31 in the first half against other teams too. So even if they don't play as bad as they did in the second half,
offense regress to the mean. I mean, come back to the reality. Progress to the mean. Yeah,
but then
nobody ever says that.
But then you're leveling out, right?
Yeah, but if you average
certain
31
degree.
a game and 430 yards a game, well, that's not bad. Remember where they were last year?
But it's 2019. I just feel like a lot of good, I feel like Florida, Miami, NC State maybe, Clemson obviously, that's what they're going to put up. They're going to put up 400 yards of offense. That's kind of what they're going to do.
Oh, yeah, just
as the season progresses.
With Florida State and the way they were last year, I mean, James Blackman said after the game, he's like, yeah, I don't remember us having a lot of 31 points and a half before. We might have done it. And it's like, no, man, what? No, you don't come close to doing that. You only scored over 30, I think, twice the whole season. And one was Northern Illinois.
Right.
So
and Sanford was the other.
So there's maybe Wake, maybe three
Wake
times.
3.
So yeah, the fact that they scored 31 and a half at least shows you there's something there. But then the ugliness came back out too. So this has all been 45 minutes of me not having any idea what this program is.
I think you do. I think you don't want to take a headshot on anything, which I get. I kind of am. I think at least I've got a crosshair on it. You don't want to go to that length. No one wants to look bad. No one wants to say that a coaching staff's not going to be able to do.
But do you want to do that over this game? A 5-point loss to Boise State.
You had to win this game, Corey. Everything was riding. I think this goes to the 3-2-1. I don't want to give all of it away, but one of the main points that Ira makes in it is that most of these players did not come to play for Willie Taggart, and he had to change them. He had to reprogram them. He had to get them on board with his culture, his ideas, his vision, and they sold out for him. It feels like, at least in the Virginia Tech game, right? Everyone came out on board, all the energy you want, all the juice you want, and they to a man, hey, we're buying in. And they looked the way they did against Virginia Tech, and they looked the way they did last year. They walk off the field losing to Florida for only the second time in nine times against Florida in Doak Campbell Stadium. Everything in that season, all those streaks riding on the line, and you come out and you look that bad against that team. That's inexcusable at this university. And then you get back off the mat, you put in all the work, you're going to a completely different defense, you're going to a different offense to a certain degree for a lot of players, and they're buying in, they're positive, they're optimistic, they're confident, they're telling you that they're going to, the coach saying they're going to make you proud every single week of this team, the players saying all the right things, and you come out and you get to that sort of start, and then guys say things like, yeah, we might have taken a little easy in the second half. We thought we were going to blow them out. We got comfortable.
Doesn't that make you
Who
crazy?
Are you?
Yeah,
Who are you to think these things?
But yeah, that's my point.
I love you. I love you, Levante. I love you, Keyshawn. Come on, you can't think
but
this
for real,
way.
who are you? You haven't done anything in college. That helmet, you don't make the helmet. What was it saying? The helmet makes you. You don't make the helmet, or you make the helmet. The helmet doesn't make you.
Right.
I can't remember. Whatever the Jimboism. But that's the truth, man. All those you're not part of the dynasty. You guys have lost 14 of your last 26 games. You're not Florida State. You're not Florida State. You're not the Florida State.
This isn't Jameis Winston's, Knowles, Charlie Ward.
You got to go
Chris
earn it,
Winke's,
man.
Knowles,
Boise State's kids think they're going to win games, and when the going got tough, they hung in there. Did you? No. You're going to fumble. Are you going to kick a fumble away from a teammate? Or are you going to just throw it deep? You're just going to you're going to make plays to lose games because that's what you're used to doing.
Well, to Ira's point.
Yeah, I don't know if they buy in.
How can you still, to the degree that you need to learn how to win? You've got parents tweeting out things that they don't like about the way things are being handled. Those guys are embarrassed. I'm sure those guys are. That's a good Boise team, and it's not because they're a Mountain West team or they're from Idaho. But to be up that big, dealing with all the off-season stuff that you had to deal with in terms of being mocked or ridiculed, the turnover backpack, and all that, any of that stuff that you had to deal with, social media, real life, or anything, you come out, you play that well, and your coaching staff has no answers in the second half. Nothing for you on defense. We don't know. What are we doing, man? We're going to play zone. Why? We can't. We have no one that can get after the quarterback any longer, and we're just going to sit back in a soft zone and give that quarterback time to read and find guys open. What are we doing right now? Why do we not have?
And you get gashed running the ball too because your linebackers don't come up and make plays. Nothing was redeemable about the way the defense played except Marvin Wilson, and you did have a chance at 4 or 5 turnovers. You had 3. You caused 3.
Isaiah Bolton, how about him? Carlos Becker. That was a nice little flash from him. Two flashes from him.
Well, and that was something we talked about. I know we'll probably go here in a second, but Carlos Becker had 2 sacks, right? Mm-hmm. The first sack, he comes completely free. The quarterback does not see him at all, and he politely wraps him up and drags him to the ground. Because he's never tackled a kid in a game before at Florida State. That kid has just done nothing here because of injuries and whatnot. So you could tell he was like, okay, let me not just screw this up. Right. I just need to make this play and get him to the ground softly. The next time he had a chance, because he had some experience and he had done something well, He crushes the kid and makes him fumble in a huge moment. But, of course, they don't pick up the fumble. But that's growth. That's a little bit of growth. So, again, we're not going to get much from the Louisiana Monroe game. The Virginia game, I think, will tell us a lot.
I agree, though. I think if you beat
What if they
Louisiana
win
Monroe
Virginia?
48-14, if you beat Louisiana Monroe 48-14, I think that's a good feeling.
But
And we
you
said that
expect
about
that to-
Samford
Sure.
too, but it didn't happen against Samford. That was the huge problem.
They were
And
down the whole game against Samford.
And we tried to make excuses. Well, the emotional letdown, short
week and all that.
We set that sort of stuff up. But yeah, you need to. I don't want to call it a statement game. You need to play the way you played on offense for close to 60 minutes, and you can't play anywhere near as bad on defense for 10 minutes against Louisiana Monroe.
And last thing though, and we can make excuses for where the program is, or I can anyway. And it isn't a good program. It's a losing football program right now, and it is going to take a while to get it back. The defense, there's no excuse for that. And I know they were on the field for 108 plays. There's just no excuse to be that bad. There isn't. And switching to a 3-4, which is a gamble because you don't have 3-4 personnel necessarily up front, and you look like that, it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. It makes you look like you know what you're doing. And it's going to be hard to recruit. It's going to be hard to convince parents and high school coaches, come play for us because we know what we're doing. We have a plan. Because you're now in year 2. You completely went away from the 4-3 to switch to a 3-4. And they're going to be growing pains. It's a new defense. Mm-hmm. But to look like that, it looks completely inept. And it wasn't coached well. It obviously wasn't executed well. And where's the hope moving forward that it will be? And there's going to be some real, because it might get worse before it gets better. You would think not, but it might. They're not going to be facing true freshman quarterbacks making their first starts for the rest of the season. Trevor Lawrence might throw, if they wanted to, they could, against that defense, the way it played Saturday, they could score 80 points if they wanted to. No chance. Florida State has no chance to stop a good quarterback, in my opinion, right now, or a good rushing attack. So where are you? Where are you? Do you switch back? Do you scrap it after 1 week? And does that make him look worse or better?
No, they're too invested in it. They can't turn back.
Yeah, so you might be in real trouble on that side of the ball. No. It could turn around. I hope it does. But there's a chance midway through this season, if you're still looking like that and completely confused and guys just running free, that changes will be made in the middle of a season.
Could they?
If you're going to give up 620 yards.
You let go of Harlan, who, I guess, Snyder's your interim then? And then Odell?
Or Odell, I don't care. Or nobody. Who cares? And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I certainly don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
I like Harlan.
I do too.
And it's one game. Yeah. But it's one game on the heels of all of last year. Right. And we're not you would hope you would see signs of growth. And instead it looked like, oh, okay, so they weren't any good last year, but they lost a first-round pick at defensive end. How's this going to look? Well, we saw that. You had 9 months to figure something out and to get your best 11 on the field and to get them in a position to make plays. And Boise State, if they could convert in the red zone, should have scored 60 points. They kicked 5 field goals. They scored 9 times against you, right? Or 8 times against you. Mm-hmm. And had 3 more fumbles. Like, I think they punted twice.
Well, that opening drive, they were going through the defense, but then
they went through the defense. They had 330 yards at the half. That's why I don't get the whole 100 plays thing. They had 330 yards at the half before you got completely exhausted. And part of that's your fault because you can't get off the field on third down.
Yeah. Hey, let's do over-under real quick.
Oh, all right. Sweet. Sorry, folks. I know you don't listen to this for me to be – oh, am I even on the air still? All right, folks, I want you to know that Aslan went out of the room for a second. We usually do this show in his living room, and I sit on a couch and the TV's on. I got my feet up on his coffee table. Well, he moved his office, or the recording studio, I guess, into his guest bedroom. And he got a really nice office chair at the desk, and he gave me what could only be described as a glorified stump to sit.
It's one of those stools that looks like a saddle almost.
It does, yeah. It looks like something that belongs in a stable. Yeah. So instead of doing that, I'm laying on the bed. How would you describe my pose right now, Aslan? I've been like this the whole
lounging. Yeah.
I am lounging.
Are you comfortable?
I'm very comfortable.
Okay,
yeah.
glad you're more comfortable.
You said I looked like
paint me like
Kate Winslet in Titanic.
Yeah, the meme. Paint me like you paint
one
your
French girls. Yeah.
Anyhow, okay. So the over/unders, the attendance, 60,000 was the line. I think the announced attendance was 50,000 and change. We both said under, so we got that right.
Great job, by the way. I don't want it to get lost. What Florida State did, they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Maybe could have pushed the time back, but whatever. I get there's hindsight and everything. We didn't know the hurricane was just going to completely stop.
Dude, is this thing up to 180 miles an hour as we're recording?
Yeah,
this
they
show?
said it was going to be. It could go towards. I don't know if there is a Category 6, but it keeps going up, and it's just going to hammer everything in its path. It's really scary. So it did stop though. So they certainly could have played Saturday night, but whatever. They did a great job. It was a bummer that so many people left at halftime, but I say that sitting in an way too air-conditioned press box, actually, where it's so cold you need to bring like sweaters. So I understand people leaving at halftime because that heat was you don't play noon games in Tallahassee. You don't, and that's the reason why. But it's awesome that they got it done and played.
Okay. Over-under was 60,000. We both said under. We got it right.
Crushed it.
Kickoffs return 2. We both said over. Under. We were
Yeah,
wrong.
they won, right? They returned 1.
Did they?
Yeah, the second one, Helton ran it out to the 24.
I don't even remember that one. Runs of 10-plus yards.
Also, real quick, didn't you say Helton had 22 plays? Isn't that what you said?
That sounds about right. I'm pulling up. I got it right here. Aslan, find it. Where's your eyes? You got to have eyes. You got 22. He was
How many
number 30.
Gavin have?
Keith Gavin had 22 as well. Look at that.
Okay, that doesn't need to be. Helton, dude, I really think Helton is a guy that needs to get the ball 12 times a game. 10 to 12 times a game in any capacity. It's not a coincidence. I know I'm on the Terry train. It's not a coincidence that every time he catches the ball, good things happen. I mean, he's an electric guy with the ball in his hands. Don't have him play a third of your plays. 22 of 69, or how many total plays they had? How many plays did James Blackman play?
James Blackman, where is he on this grading thing? 64.
So he played 22 of 64, so almost right at 33%. That needs to be 70%. Keyshawn, you don't get a lot of Keyshawn Heltons, man. Use them. Anyway, go ahead.
I just think that maybe you're sold your body type wise, like he doesn't fit like an outside guy, and neither does DJ. And both of them can't be on the field at the same time if you're going to be 3 wide.
Well, yeah, then go 4 wide or put him in the backfield.
Okay.
Do a lot of things with Keyshawn Helton.
Runs of 10-plus yards, 2.5 over/under. They went over on that. I mean, Cam had his first touchdown run was
he had
over
3.
That.
Yeah, I think Helton had a 14-yard run too.
Right, and the one before he fumbled, Cam was over 10 yards as well. So they hit the over on that. We both said over. We both got that one right. FSU penalties 8.5. That's where we differed. Only 5. You said over. I said under. So I got a leg up on you on that one.
Rush that one. So you're ahead of me. You're plus
plus
one.
Right now. Gimmick plays 2. Under, right? Because Cam throwing to Tamorin was the only really gimmick play that you and I would agree was a gimmick play. Like the end around to Keyshawn wasn't.
I wouldn't call that. I think a wild Cam would be a gimmick, but that end around just an end around. Yeah. What one of the worst possessions they had all game, and I guess we can ask about this. It just didn't make sense. It's when they played their backup line. It was like 2 minutes to go in the half. It's right before you went and got your sandwich. Mm-hmm. And they came out with their 5 second-string linemen. They put 3 wide receivers out to the left and 2 out to the right with no running back. Blackman catches the ball, just throws a screen pass, gets blown up. They come to the other side. Blackman catches the ball, throws a screen pass, gets blown up, and then third down, they don't get it and they punt. They had been murdering Boise State's defense the entire game by having Cam or the running backs back there doing the read and making throws. They had torched them. Why then change it? Just to be goofy? That to me was a gimmick, a really bad one. Let's throw it to this side. Okay, real quick, now let's throw it to this side. Well, neither played work because the receivers didn't get their blocks, and Thompson almost got killed. And who
are you saving right before half? Like, I guess maybe you think Boise's really tired, so you can run out your second teamers and bust something?
Yeah, because you had 31 points at that spot, and you knew you should have 35. And the possession you didn't score was when you got down to their 40 or 35, and then Blackman fumbled on a sack. So you would just literally 380 yards. And so you're like, okay, well, we're not taking this defense that seriously enough. Let's just do this real quick, this thing we wanted to do. And they had 3 first downs the rest of the game after they did that. They completely, I'm not going to blame it on that possession, but everything completely fell apart when they did that. When they did that 5 wide, throw screen pass, doesn't work. Throw a screen pass the other way, it doesn't work. And then the third down was like I don't even know what they did on that third down. Completely changed the momentum of the game. Don't do that. Go with what's working for you. Not that I should tell Kendall Briles how to run an offense.
We both said over. Punting average 40. You said over. I said under. The punting average was 44.
Booyah, Logan Tyler.
Level-headed or level up. Total points 53.5. You said under. I took the over. So after 1 week, I'm one up on you, Corey.
You're just one up.
Just one up.
Yeah, it almost hit the over in halftime.
Yeah, crazy. So that's that. We'll do that again on Friday. Listen to that, but we'll do 3 shows between now and then. Go on the Tribal Council. Leave your questions on the Renegade Express, brought to you by First Commerce Financial. We'll take those questions on Thursday. We'll do 2 shows before that as well. We're back to doing it every single day. Hopefully we'll know a lot more. Maybe we'll have stronger opinions on things. At least maybe I'll start bringing the fire, because we both can't be cynical, skeptical, fire everybody guys, because then it's not a good look.
And I'm not a fire everybody guy. Let me get that out there. I'm just saying, if you keep giving up 600 yards a game, obviously the things will have to change. Willie Taggart's got to get his own job survival mode at some point, so he won't be happy with that either. So that's all I'm saying. I don't want anybody to lose their job.
Stay connected to WarChant.com for the latest on the Florida State Seminoles, folks. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.